Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode 18 in the book of First John. We're starting chapter 5 today. Now, First John is a love story, and that's going to be my title today, is that First John is a love story. So yesterday, the important verse, not that they're not all important, was 4:19. We love because he first loved us. So the love of God that we can't see equates with the love of the brotherhood that we can see. So First John is this love story, and he moves towards us initially. He helps us in our belief, and he helps us to be born again. And then he helps us with every day after that. He helps us with not just conversion, but the ongoing process of sanctification. And today he's going to equate three things by this transitive property of spiritual addition, which is loving the Almighty, that's the A, loving the body, that's the B, and then loving his commands, that's the C. And you remember the transitive property of addition, which is if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. So the three things is the love of the Almighty, love of the people of God, and love of the commandments of God. Those are all going to be very tightly seen together, and he's going to equate them with each other today in the first 5 verses of chapter 5. Everyone who believes that Jesus is the Christ has been born of God. So there we see God moving towards us. And everyone who loves the Father loves whoever has been born of him. So whoever loves the Almighty loves the body of Christ. Verse 2, by this we know that we love the children of God, love the body of Christ, when we love God, love the Almighty, and obey his commandments, obey the things he has said. See. Verse 3, for this is the love of God. This is the love of the Almighty, that we keep his commandments. And his commandments are not burdensome. For everyone who has been born of God overcomes the world, and this is the victory that has overcome the world, our faith. Who is it that overcomes the world, except one who believes that Jesus is the Son of God? All right, so let's talk math here a minute, spiritual math, the transitive property of addition. If A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C, which is to love God, love the Almighty, love the body of Christ, love his children, and love his commands. And we're going to see that eventually there's no daylight between the three of them. Remember, what God commands eventually are to love the body it's been that way since Leviticus. Love your neighbor. And then at the Last Supper, where Jesus says, love as I have loved you. And remember, loving God's children is initially at their conversion, but also in their sanctification. It's one of the reasons why we go to real church, is to see conversions and then to see the sanctification and love it. That is, to be loving what God is doing in people. So it's in church that we see real people and loving real people, and that's where we see the love of the real God. So this transitive property, if loving the Almighty equals loving his commands, and loving his commands is loving his people. All right, so what does this transitive property of spiritual addition tell us? It tells us that there's no daylight between our belief and our actions. It tells us there's no daylight between loving God and loving the people of God. It tells us that there's no daylight between loving God and loving the commandments of God. It tells us that there's no daylight between loving the people of God and loving the commands of God. For what is the commands of God, which is love? It's a new command and it's an old command. And he tells us to kind of, at the Last Supper at least, he says, you got to do this better. So the commands are not burdensome. Let's talk about that for a second. The burdensome word is a Greek word which means fierce or vicious or cruel. His commands aren't cruel. They're not vicious. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not inconvenient and tiresome. I equate it by saying, like a parent, loving your children is not a burdensome command. Now, that doesn't mean it's not exhausting sometimes, but it's not a grievous command. It's the good stuff. It's one of the blessings that I would pray upon your life, that you would have the love of a family. It's not grievous. It's the good stuff. And one of the ways that you see here in the passage today the face of God is by interacting with the frequently tiresome and the frequently inconvenient people of God. Why is that? Why am I telling you to go to the tiresome and inconvenient people of God? Why? Because that is where you'll be seeing him work, seeing his activity, and therefore seeing his face. You will know God by this interaction. So this inconvenient and exhausting interaction is the good stuff. So being smack dab in the heart of God means to be smack dab in the heart of the people, which means being smack dab in the heart of his will, his commandments. So the heart of God is in his people, and my heart must be in his people if I want to be near the center of his will and therefore be in the center of him. So he first loved us. He helps us with our spiritual birth, and then he helps us with every day after that birth. So my prayer today is, may the love for you, God, be demonstrated by the love that we have for your people. And may the love for you be demonstrated by loving your commands, which are to love one another. Love the knucklehead. Remember, everyone, 1 John is a love story, and we are a part of it. We're supposed to be loving God's people, loving his will, and therefore loving God himself. 1 John is a love story. Go love today.